I'm going to hit about 5 of our big ticket items, just to give you an overview of some of the more impactful pieces of legislation this session. The first would be retroactivity, to make state question, the reforms contained in State Question 780 apply retroactively, as well as the reforms that the legislature enacted last year from the governor's task force. We were seeking to make those reforms apply retroactively as well. Governor Fallon and legislative leaders are to be committed for the foundation that they laid, and we think that it's time to build on that foundation and make sure that those reforms are applied equitably to anyone who may currently be in the system. We're also seeking to bring about some sense and some fairness to our failure to protect laws. Liz, we thank you for being here today. Liz Wagner is with the Oklahoma, Liz Charles, I'm sorry, I get it wrong every time, is with the Oklahoma Women's Coalition, and she is going to be taking the lead on making sure that women who may be being abused do not serve longer sentences than the actual abuser in those cases in the state of Oklahoma, and we think that that's very, very important. We are seeking to establish a standard definition of what constitutes possession with intent to distribute, so that we can accurately ensure that individuals who battle addiction aren't being overcharged, while people who are truly causing problems in our communities by distributing drugs are being charged appropriately. We are looking to put an end to revocation, to revoking a person's sentence and sending them back to prison for technical violations. We do not think it makes sense to send people to prison for violating the terms of their condition if they haven't committed a new crime without first going through a graduated sanctions model that would allow us to effectively address the core issues. It's important to note that about 1/3 of our prison admissions are the result of technical violations, people who are on some form of supervision. And then finally, we're seeking to put an end to cash bail practices for misdemeanors and nonviolent felony convictions. We do not think that debtor's prison is okay or that it's constitutional in any form. So the fact that people are sitting in jail simply because they cannot afford to pay their bond is not okay, and that leads to increased incarceration rates and poor outcomes for not only those individuals but also their families. We have several other bills that are part of our agenda, and we're happy to discuss those at the appropriate time. But it's important to note that this agenda will have an impact. As you can see on our chart, if we do nothing, our prison population is projected to grow 14% in the next 10 years. 14%. That's a problem because we're already over capacity. Our prisons are already at 113%. So if we grow another 14%, it's not only unworkable, it's also unsustainable. From both a financial standpoint and from a human standpoint. But if we enact the agenda that we've put forward today and for this legislative session, we will eliminate the projected growth and reduce our overall prison population by about 5%. So this agenda represents a 19% reduction in growth in actual prison population over the course of 10 years. The agenda is not nearly as aggressive as some would like in our coalition, but we understand we did not get to become the leader in the world in incarceration rates, and unfortunately we're not going to undo that dynamic overnight or in 1 year. So these are the next logical, methodical, reasonable approaches to progress. And it's a progress that we can and we must make. It's progress that should be palatable to everyone involved. It's practical. And the reality is that most states have already enacted the reforms that are contained in our agenda. Mississippi over 2 years ago, Louisiana just this past year. That's why Louisiana has reduced their incarceration rates for male offenders, and we've actually surpassed them. So we know that these policy proposals are effective. They're based on outcomes and what has been successful in other states. Without pushing anything, we're not going to be able to maintain the trajectory that we're currently on for incarceration. It's not good for the people who live in our state. It's not good for our state budget. And it's time that we take action, and that we take action now. Oklahoma, as Governor Stitt has outlined, can and should and must become a leader and responsible corrections reform policies, and we think that 2019 is the year to start that process and to make that happen.
I've been in this place for a while, and I can tell you it's going to be difficult from my vantage point to get all that we want, but I am hopeful. It is true that we have a lot of momentum. We have a lot of good things going on. We have done a lot of good work, but I'm still cautious. I'm cautious to say that we're on the road. We have not turned the corner. We've gotten to the corner, but we have not turned it, and we have not gone around it yet. But these are not simple issues. It is far easier to be against something, to stand up and to stop all of the loose talk that talks about why we can't do it, all the falsehoods, all those things that prevent us from grabbing hold of this issue and really making it a reality for the state of Oklahoma. We're all going to have to work harder than we've ever worked before to get it done. I am ready, I am willing to fight and to struggle with all of those who are here, who want to make it, who talk as if they want to make it, but I want to make sure that we get it done this year. You know, as this month, this is February the 1st, you can see I have on my Black History Month ribbon. Part of that means to me that when the civil rights movement was going on, there were those who said, you're moving too fast, slow down, we'll make it happen as progress allows it to happen. Well, we're faced with some of that right now. We're faced with the fact that some people are saying you're moving too fast, you're doing too much. But with these type of statistics, we are not moving too fast. And I can tell you from my community, which represents 8–9% of the state of Oklahoma, and we represent in incarceration rates 20 to 25%. I've said it and I will say it again. Ladies, justice sometimes raises that blindfold, I believe, and looks at not only just statutes that exist, but looks at the color of those who come before. We have worked before us, but I am very optimistic. I am very excited about the language that I've heard, the talk that I've heard. I'm very excited about the movement. I'm very excited about being part of this movement that we have created that I think is going to make a difference and is going to make Oklahoma better by looking at all individuals and giving each one of them a fair chance to do all that they can to make this state great.
I want to mention that the nonprofits, the faith-based communities, the churches, we are all coming together for the same purpose. And I've not seen this before. I don't think Oklahoma has seen this before. It's not about a competition. It's completing each other with the same goal, with the same vision. We all want the same thing. These people are broken. We're broken. We have people come alongside us. So we want to come along those who need the grace, the relationships, the we believe in you, to come alongside people like Kayla. You know, these are beautiful women, mothers, fathers who need to be with their families. So we're excited about the governor stating that this is one of his platforms. This is what he ran on. This is important to him. We know legislators are turning because they hear the people. They hear that the people want to show up for Oklahomans. Everyone has value. So it is my pleasure to introduce the courageous Gene Rainbolt.
All right, there you go. Well, I'm Gene Rainbolt, Chairman Emeritus of Bank First. And you've heard optimism, but I have the feeling of that Broadway play, talk, 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 which we've done far too much of in Oklahoma. We all agree that we'd love for Governor Stitt to accomplish his goals, moving Oklahoma up in all of the social and economic categories. I've worked for 60 years. I'll be 90 years old this month. And since the first day of my career, we have not changed the status in Oklahoma as vis-a-vis the rest of the country. And if you add 8 years to Governor Stitt's term, that only takes it out to 2026. And if you look at this chart, you see that very little with what we're proposing, very little will actually be accomplished in terms of prison reduction. And this is his greatest challenge. And because incarceration impacts far more than just incarceration. the use of very finite dollars for incarceration means he can't have funds to deal with the other issues that are so important in Oklahoma. Moreover, he's very interested in mental health. That absolutely plays opposite in terms of good mental health practices. Now, I want to point out that we're the highest in the country, as you well know, in terms of incarceration. Are Oklahomans the worst people in the country? Absolutely not. If we were to do a character survey across the country, I have no doubt that Oklahomans would be in the top 10, just exactly where Governor Stitt wants them to be. But because of very convoluted, twisted policies, we have the highest incarceration rate in the country. We must deal with that. And what's being proposed is the most modest of proposals. We also need to be dealing with how do we help people whose lives have been destroyed return to citizenship as productive citizens. We also need to not focus on tough on crime. We need our political leaderships at every level, legislators, prosecutors, court system, to do away with using the words tough on crime. What they need to be saying is tough on violent crimes. And we need to focus on treating our people that have mental health and addiction as sick people, as opposed to sending them to prison and making criminals of them and furthering the Oklahoma record of being a felony factory. We've just begun, and we must push on